Pro wrestling is an ever-evolving industry, with encyclopedias being updated, documentaries being released, and relationships mended or destroyed. The attitudes and narratives of wrestling superstars begin to change. Individuals like the Ultimate Warrior, Bruno Sammartino, and others are brought back into prominence, while the history of some of the other bright characters are being washed away or changed. Some are pigeonholed and being remembered for that one event or that one specific moment in time. Others become as insignificant as a crossword answer. My job as PWP's resident historian is to remind you of the impact that these individuals and teams left on the industry. This is PWProfiles. Hardcore wrestling has been a mainstay in professional wrestling for years, even though some people would hate to admit it. Going back all the way to the likes of Abdullah the Butcher, Bruiser Brody, and Terry Funk, there's always been wild action in and outside of the ring. But I think of this hardcore style and one of the forefathers of it, I think of Detroit, Michigan's own The Sheik. Now that is, I mentioned Detroit, I mentioned hardcore, that is probably the two biggest things associated with this man, besides being Sabu's uncle. But there's a lot more to the career of the Sheik. I'm sure this is someone that you at least know of. You might not have seen any matches of him, but you know of the Sheik.
Yeah, because as a young wrestling fan, everybody will go through this, and somebody might be going through this right now listening to it. You think we're talking about the Iron Sheik. No,
yes.
No. There's two different Sheiks. This is the original Sheik.
Yes.
That's about all I know of him. And like you said, I knew he was the uncle of Sabu.
He actually got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame in 2007, the year that we were at WrestleMania. He was inducted by Sabu and Rob Van Dam. He had a lengthy career in Detroit. He was actually the booker for Big Time Wrestling, the Detroit area, so it was Detroit, Ohio. He also went to Canada a little bit. Had big feuds with Bobo Brazil and Abdullah the Butcher. He debuted in 1947 and wrestled his official last match in 1995.
Terry Funk who?
For some people, that's a lifetime. And it wasn't just, I hate to say it, but it wasn't just Ric Flair matches. You go in, you have your couple moves, you have people carry you. FMW was a Japanese promotion that was big into the death matches. They did a match where there's a ring outside the ring and it was set on fire. And it got so hot it started engulfing the ring. Sheik was in there at the time, and this would have been 80s, 90s. So you figure, depending on when, 30, 40 years into his career. He got put in a coma after this.
Shit.
The Sheik, he was a madman. And he always, the big thing he'd do is he'd put someone in the camel clutch, which is another reason he gets confused with the Iron Sheik. They both have the same move. And he wouldn't let go. He whether it was he didn't understand the refs or he was just crazy, he stuck to kayfabe most of his career. He usually had someone talking for him, whether it be the Grand Wizard or even his nephew Sabu. There would be times where people would call his house because they'd find out where he lives, because wrestling fans are crazy. And he'd tell them, no Ed lives here, because his real name, Ed Farhat. Another well-known story is backstage at one of the shows, someone walked up and said, I know you, you're Ed, I went to school with you. And the Sheik grabbed him by the throat, put him against the wall, and said, you're right, I am Ed Farhat, but if you bring my name up again, I will fucking kill you. Then slowly backed away, and people called him the Sheik. It's actually pretty interesting, local, especially more for me. He's actually buried in Williamston, which is less than an hour from me. His old home is a place where people can have weddings and events. As I said, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2007. He was a two-time WWF United States champion, and he won the United States title for the Big Time Wrestling multiple times, since that was the promotion's championship. He also trained Muhammad Ali for the Muhammad Ali versus Antonio Inoki fight that we touched on a little bit before. As I said, when you think of the Sheik, you think Detroit, you think hardcore, and you think kayfabe. Before really getting into wrestling, my first experience of him was before he was inducted. It was through, which I'm sure this will be said a lot during this series, through the Legends of Wrestling games. Only because a lot of times they would have them paired up with their partners in the menu select. So it would be like Hogan and Jimmy Snuka, Tito Santana and Don Morocco, or Tito Santana, Rick Martel. I always found it weird that the Sheik was next to Sabu. Because you'd think the Sheik would be with the Iron Sheik.
Right.
Like, I always thought the Sheik trained the Iron Sheik. To go on top of that, Sabu was actually supposed to come to the WWE in the 90s. The rumor is that the Sultan, who Rikishi was, who Rocky Maivia fought, was supposed to be Sabu. But Sabu knew that his uncle would hate him for having the Iron Sheik manage him. So there was a little bad blood there. But, you know, for someone that had such a lengthy career, managed to keep kayfabe alive throughout all of it, helped train innovators such as Rob Van Dam, Sabu, and helped train Muhammad Ali, that is why the original Sheik, not the Iron Sheik, is a PW profile.